WrestleMania 10, the 10-year anniversary of WrestleMania. It happened in 1994 at Madison Square Garden, where it all began again, right? The 10-year anniversary, why not have it at the very place that the first WrestleMania took place? This is a deep look at WrestleMania 10, the what could have beens and the what we got instead. So let's take a look back at our history of WrestleMania 10. We start off here with the program, the WrestleMania 10 program, which is pretty much just a history of WrestleMania 1 through 9. There is another magazine out like this that you could buy at newsstands with a different cover. So really, WrestleMania 10 kind of got ripped off on a program compared to the other years when the WrestleMania programs came out. To start this look, we have to go back to SummerSlam 93. Lex Luger with his big victory over Yokozuna at SummerSlam, right? The Steiner brothers are in the ring, Tatanka's in the ring, the Macho Man Randy Savage is in the ring, everyone's celebrating, confetti and balloons are coming down, the USA flag is high in the air with Lex, but he won the match via countout. There was no championship change. Yokozuna still walked out of SummerSlam as the WWF champion. So it kind of made Lex Luger look like an idiot here, that he was celebrating so happily and joyfully when he wasn't the champion. And he wasn't going to get a title shot either after that because it was in the contract that he only got the one and done. If he didn't win at SummerSlam, that was it. But luckily there was a loophole, and that loophole was going to be the Royal Rumble. Now, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated in May 1994, they believed the main event at WrestleMania 10 was going to be Yokozuna versus Lex Luger. They were hyping it up already. They figured what better match to have at WrestleMania 10 than Lex Luger finally winning the WWF Championship from that 568-pound Samoan Japanese superstar. Well, things kind of happened like that, but not really. We go to the Royal Rumble in 1994, where Yokozuna, with the help of his friends, took care of The Undertaker for 6-7 months. The Quebecers retained their WWF Tag Team titles, defeating the brother duo of Bret and Owen. And we get a two-person winner at the Royal Rumble. Lex Luger and Bret Hitman Hart both go over at the same time, thus creating no winner, or creating two winners. Either way, WrestleMania 10 was shaping up to be something a little different than we really expected it to be. Here we see the March 1994 WWF magazine with The Undertaker on the cover. But the reason why I'm showing this is because right here we get WrestleMania 10, a spectacular event 10 years in the making. They're hyping the event up already in March. They have The Undertaker on the cover, but guess what? Undertaker would not be appearing at WrestleMania 10. Actually, a matter of fact, The Undertaker wouldn't come back until SummerSlam 94 in August when he would wrestle The Undertaker. Well, that's a story for another video. April 1994, WWF Magazine. We see the three combatants on the cover. WrestleMania, the perfect 10 in New York City. We get Bret Hitman Hart, we get the All-American Lex Luger, and we get Yokozuna, the WWF champion. So, who was going to be challenging Yokozuna for the belt at WrestleMania? I'll get to that in a second. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. He wasn't really known as Mr. WrestleMania here, but it was a match at WrestleMania 10 that would actually help him to make him the man at WrestleMania, right? Because Shawn Michaels had one of the greatest matches at WrestleMania 10 against the bad guy, Razor Ramon. That's right, Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, a one-on-one for the Intercontinental Championship, and not just Razor's Intercontinental Championship. No. That's the legit title. They're also wrestling for Shawn Michaels' bogus Intercontinental title that he never returned to the WWF when he got suspended in October of 1993. So, what could we have to make one champion? You have two belts, Do you have a regular match? No, that would be too simple, for we must have a ladder match. And WrestleMania 10 gave us just that, a ladder match on pay-per-view. It went about 25 minutes long, I think. It went so long that it actually made the 10-man tag match obsolete for the card. You wouldn't be seeing that until like next week on Monday Night Raw. But that's probably a good thing considering the combatants in the match. I mean, the Smoking Guns tagging up with Tatanka, the 1-2-3 Kid, and Bob Sparkplug Holly against Jeff Jarrett, IRS, the Head Shrinkers, and Rick the Model Martel. That sounds more like a Monday Night Raw match to me than WrestleMania. Razor Ramon, of course, was victorious in the match, winning both Intercontinental titles. Randy Macho Man Savage would be appearing at his last ever WrestleMania at WrestleMania 10, and he would have a very important grudge match. It was pretty much a Falls Count Anywhere match, really, against his former best friend, Crush. Because it was back in late 1993 where Crush came back as a bad guy, a villain, with Mr. Fuji as his manager, kind of like the old Demolition days back in 1991. He had enough with kissing babies and high-fiving fans. He didn't win the WWE title against Yokozuna on Raw, and he got injured, and he was livid. And he blamed Randy Macho Man Savage for that. So, he attacked the Macho Man, and actually held the Macho Man high in the air like this photo shows right here, dropping him face and throat first on a guardrail. Kind of like what Macho did to Ricky Steamboat just back, a few years earlier. Anyways, Macho Man bit his tongue. And that hurts, right? But Macho Man bit it really, really bad. To the point I believe he needed stitches. He was bleeding so much from the mouth. Go back and watch that footage from Raw. You'll see it. Macho Man has blood coming out of his mouth like crazy. Macho Man, however, was victorious over Crush in his last WrestleMania appearance. The Steiner brothers with the WWF Tag Team titles. That's how we thought WrestleMania 10 should have had, but it didn't, right? The Steiner brothers weren't even on WrestleMania 10. I believe they were over in Japan at that time, wrestling for New Japan for a little bit. Because who got the tag title shot at WrestleMania 10 against the Quebecers? Why, Mabel and Mo, Men on a Mission did, with Oscar in their corner. To counterpart Johnny Polo in the Quebecers' corner. So, we could have had the big return match, the Steiners and the Quebecers. We could have seen new tag team champions at WrestleMania 10 in Rick and Scott Steiner, but the Steiners were already mentally checked out of the WWF here. They didn't give a shit. They didn't care to be on WrestleMania 10. They wanted out of their contracts and to get out and go back to Japan full time. So instead of this shot here at the Steiners with the tag titles at WrestleMania 10, we get Men on a Mission defeating the Quebecers by disqualification, I believe, or count out. It doesn't really matter. They didn't win the belts. And here it is, the end of WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart as champion. Now you're probably wondering, how did this happen? Well, leading up to it, there was I believe a coin flip to see who would wrestle Yokozuna first. That's right, Yokozuna had to defend the WWF title at WrestleMania 10 not once, but twice that night. And whoever he wrestled first, the other wrestler, who either Bret or Lex, would have to wrestle someone else on the card to make it fair. So for example, if Bret Hart won the coin toss and got to wrestle Yokozuna first, Lex Luger would have went one-on-one with Crush. If Lex Luger won the coin toss and got to wrestle Yokozuna first, Bret Hart would have had to wrestle his own brother, Owen Hart? Well, that's right. Owen Hart turned on Bret at the Royal Rumble when they didn't win the tag team titles, and Owen Hart was now a bad guy and out to prove to his brother Bret that he didn't need to be in his shadow any longer. Bret and Owen Hart had maybe the greatest opening match ever at WrestleMania 10. It was the greatest opening match ever on a WrestleMania, maybe even on a pay-per-view in general. It's got to be number 1, 2, or 3. And I'm being really, really honest with that. I can't think of many opening matches that can be great and set standards for the show and maybe even be better than the entire show. But Bret and Owen at WrestleMania 10 was that. And we got to see Owen Hart actually pin his big brother, Bret Hitman Hart, his shoulders to the mat, 1, 2, 3, and then Owen had that great interview in the back with that dry white saliva stuff on the side of his mouth. We all get that, right? That white pasty stuff when you're thirsty. Owen had it there in that interview, and it kind of takes away from the moment, but also it's typical Owen Hart fun, right? So Lex Luger ended up wrestling Yokozuna midway through the show, and Mr. Perfect was a special guest referee, and guess what? Lex Luger got disqualified by Mr. Perfect, and Yokozuna retained the championship. That made Yokozuna versus Bret Hart as the last match on the card, with Rowdy Roddy Piper as the special guest referee, and Yokozuna lost his balance off the ropes, fell, and the Hitman pinned him for the 1, 2, 3, winning the WWF Championship for the second time. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, August 1994, would show WrestleMania 10 in full coverage, so everything is in there that you want to see in the Stanley Weston magazine. Get this one here. Bret Hart, champion again, right on the cover. 11 pages of full color coverage of WrestleMania 10, the real winners and losers. And up at the top there, you can see money or country. The Steiners must decide. So even they're talking about, are the Steiners going to Japan? Or are they going to be staying with the World Wrestling Federation? Inside Wrestling, July 94. A look into wrestling's future with Bret the Hitman Hart. But there at the top, you see complete WrestleMania results with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in that small photo. So Inside Wrestling also covered WrestleMania 10 as well. Here we see Bret Hart and Lex Luger, their greatest triumphs, their greatest tragedies, still hyping that one man won the belt, the other one didn't. Lex would never win the WWF title, or any title, as a matter of fact, for that company, and would soon go back to WCW in September of 1995, debuting on the first ever WCW Monday Nitro. And Bret Hart would go on to defend the WWF title at SummerSlam 94 against Owen Hart, his own brother, in a steel cage. It was about a 30, maybe to 40-minute match. It was insane. It was good. The family got involved. We saw the return of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Jim the Anvil Neidhart was there. It was a great show, amazing show. And right there we see it. Bret Hitman Hart was victorious to retain the WWF title at SummerSlam 94. And he closed out the year as champion until Survivor Series, where he lost it to Mr. Bob Backlund in late November. So, Bret had a good run in 1994 as champion, March to November. Technically, he probably could have went longer, but, Backlund won the belt, and then Vince put it on Diesel. And in 1995, we had the WWF running on diesel fuel. So what did everyone think of WrestleMania 10? Did you like it? Was it a good show? Was it weird not seeing Hulk Hogan for the first time ever on a WrestleMania? That was kind of weird to me as a 13-year-old kid back then. I was like, wow, it's weird to think that Hulk Hogan's not going to be at WrestleMania this year. Little did I know Hulk was getting ready to sign with WCW in 2 months and do his thing over there, right? So, Bret Hart, Lex Luger, Yokozuna, the three guys that made WrestleMania 10 for the championship. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, the match that made the Intercontinental title seem special at WrestleMania 10. And of course, Bret and Owen in the opening match, maybe the greatest ever opening match ever at a WrestleMania or at a pay-per-view in general. I suggest you go back and watch Bret versus Owen from that event. You will not be disappointed. All right, guys, this was my look back at WrestleMania 10. I think it was better than WrestleMania 9, that's for sure, but I don't really know where it would sit overall. It has a special meaning and special history because it was the 10th anniversary of WrestleMania. That's probably about it. And you got to see the championship change hands in the last match of the night, and the fans got to be very happy to know, once again, their guy, Bret Hitman Hart, was WWF World Champion. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of WrestleMania 10. Yay or nay? Did you watch it live or did you watch it on videotape? Did you just watch it recently? Let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. All right, guys. Until I do my next one, I'll talk to you later.